Welcome to the Finance and Audit Commission, April 17th regular meeting. This is a hybrid meeting with Finance and Audit Commission members, city staff, and members of the public participating in the downtown conference room and participating remotely. I would like to introduce staff and Finance and Audit Commission members present. Colin Albright, Vice Chair Lynn Bramlett, Jayanta Day, and Carol Wong. Staff present include Administrative Services Director Brittany Mello, Assistant Administrative Services Director Jared Hansen, Interim Finance and Budget Manager Ronnie Singh, and Management Analyst Adrian Patino. And special guest from the Finance Department. Sandeep. Okay. All right, Adrian, would you please provide instructions to the Finance and Audit Commission and members of the public on how the meeting will proceed?
Certainly. Thank you, Vice Chair Bramlett and members of the Finance and Audit Commission. Welcome everybody to the April 17th regular meeting of the Finance and Audit Commission, and thanks for attending. Staff will engage in webcams and microphones to make presentations and respond to members of the Finance and Audit Commission. For members of the public who are in attendance and wish to provide a public comment on an item on tonight's agenda, after the chair calls for public comment, you will, if you wish to speak, if you are logged in virtually, you will engage the raised hand feature at the bottom of the screen. If you are calling in from a cell phone or from a landline, you will press *9. And if you are in person, you will complete a speaker card and return that to me. That concludes the instructions, and I return the meeting to the chair.
Thank you. Under public comment, the public may address the Finance and Audit Commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. Please clearly state your name and address or political jurisdiction in which you live. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore the advisory body cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information.
If you would like to provide a general public comment on an item not on tonight's agenda, if you are logged in virtually, please use the raised hand feature. If you are dialing in from a cell phone or from a landline, please press *9. And if you're in person, please complete a speaker card and return that to me. Final call for general public comment. And I'm seeing no requests at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to item D, consent calendar. Under the consent calendar, the Finance and Audit Commission may take action to approve routine business items in one motion unless a Finance and Audit Commission member, city staff member, or a member of the public requests that an item be discussed or continued to a later date. Adrian, do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
All right, if you'd like to comment on an item on tonight's consent calendar, please engage the raise hand feature if you are logged in on Zoom. If you are dialing in from a cell phone or from a landline, please press *9. And if you are in person, please complete a speaker card and return that to me. I am seeing no requests for public comment on the consent calendar. You may continue.
Thank you. Adrian, would you please state the motion for D1?
Right, motion to approve the consent calendar.
Yes, please. Okay. Do I have, all right, I guess I ask you all for the motion. Do I have a motion and a second? Oh, do I have a motion and a second for the stated motion?
I'll motion to pass the consent calendar.
Great. Sure. Excellent, thank you. Okay, staff liaison Adrian to take roll call vote on the motion.
All right. And motion to approve the consent calendar. All in favor?
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimous.
Excellent. Okay, we are now on regular business, item E1. Under regular business, the Finance and Audit Commission considers recommendations from city staff on policy matters or administrative actions that require Finance and Audit Commission approval. Our first regular business item is E1. Review the investment portfolio reports for March 31st and recommend receipt by City Council. And it's in staff report 25003 for FAC. I'd like to introduce Management Analyst Adrian Patino to introduce the item.
Thank you, Vice Chair Bramlett. So tonight we have the latest investment portfolio report for the quarter ended March 31st, 2025. A couple of highlights from the investment report. The city's fair market value of the total portfolio was $205,975,068 as of March 31st. That is about 0.11 million higher than the amortized cost, which represents an unrealized gain as the city holds its securities to maturity to avoid capital loss. The yield of the total portfolio was 4%, and the weighted average maturity was about 2 years. The ESG scores improved slightly from 3.29 in the prior period to 3.05, with a score of 3 being the average. So the city's portfolio is a little bit below average. And that concludes my brief presentation, and I return the meeting back to the chair.
Thank you, Management Analyst Adrian Patino. Are there any clarifying questions? Okay. Adrian, do we have any public comment?
All right, if you would like to comment on regular business item E1, review the investment portfolio reports for March 31st and recommend receipt by City Council. If you are logged in virtually, please engage the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen. If you are dialing in from a cell phone or from a landline, please press *9. And if you're in person, please complete a speaker card and return that to me. And I'm seeing no requests for public comment on this item. You may continue.
Thank you. Okay, it's now open for Finance and Audit Commission discussion. Any?
It's quite similar to last quarter, so.
Okay. Last call.
No comment.
Okay, so, Adrian, would you please state the motion?
Certainly. Motion to recommend receipt of the investment portfolio reports for March 31st by City Council.
Okay, do I have a motion and a second for the stated motion?
The motion to.
Approve them,
I second. Thank you.
right? Okay. Would you please take the roll call on the motion?
Right, all in favor to approve the stated motion? And the
Okay.
motion passes unanimously.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so our last regular business item is E2. Review the single audit report for the fiscal year 2023-24 and the independent accountant's report on the calculation of the appropriations limit for fiscal year 2024-25 and recommend receipt by City Council. I'd like to now introduce Assistant Administrative Services Director Jared Hansen to introduce the item.
Thank you. All right, so the item before you is the the single audit report for fiscal year 23-24, as well as the independent accountant's report on the calculation of the appropriations limit for the GAN limit for fiscal year 24-25. The single audit is required when an entity expends more than $750,000 worth of federal funds during a single fiscal year. The single audit tests programs listed on our schedule of expenditures of federal awards, or our CFET, to ensure that we meet the compliance of the requirements outlined by the Office of Management and Budget, or OMB. And additionally, Article 13B of the California Constitution creates a restriction on the limit of revenues that may be appropriated in any fiscal year. This is commonly known as the GAN limit appropriations, or just the appropriations limit. And this limit is then reviewed by the auditors as part of the financial audit, and they prepare a report outlining that review. The first report that you'll find attached is the single audit report. And in the single audit report, there are two separate documents that are listed, and there are not two separate documents, but two separate opinion papers. The first one is the report on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on the audit of the financial statements. There are no findings that the auditors had in that. There's no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. The second item that's in that same report is the report on each major federal program, the report on internal compliance, internal controls over compliance, as well as the report on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards as required. And there were no findings in that as well. The auditors did test two separate programs this year. The two programs that were tested were the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program and the Coronavirus State and Local Fiscal Recovery Funds. That was the ARPA funds and the remaining amount of the ARPA funds. They tested a total of 5.8 million, which is about 87% of our federal funds. So they tested quite a bit this year, but that was because of the large amount of the ARPA funds that we had for the year. The second attachment that you'll find is the independent accountant's report on the agreed upon procedures over the GAN limit, or the appropriations limit. And they stated in their report that we did calculate the GAN limit according to the requirements. They found no deviations and no exceptions as a result of their procedures in how we calculated and presented that limit, and that we used the appropriate population increases. And finally, the last document that's included is a letter to the mayor and members of the city council. This is the AUC 260 letter, or the, it's also called the auditor's communication with those charged with governance. And this just outlines the audit responsibilities of the auditor, talks about any new accounting standards that are in effect, any significant accounting estimates that may have happened in the financial statements, any difficulties that they may have found, any corrected or uncorrected misstatements that they found, any disagreements with management, and other such items. And there was nothing to report in there. They agreed with all that, and there are no uncorrected or corrected misstatements that warranted presentation to council. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. So to the commission, are there any clarifying questions about the information for this topic? Okay, I thank you for all your work in the report too. And we will now take public comment if there is any.
All right, if you would like to provide a public comment on regular business item E2, review the single audit report for the fiscal year 2023-24 and the independent accountant's report on the calculation of the appropriations limit for fiscal year 2024-25 and recommend receipt by city council. If you are logged in on Zoom, please engage the raised hand feature at the bottom of your screen. If you're dialing in from a cell phone or from a landline, please press *9. And if you are in person, please complete a speaker card and return that to me. Seeing no requests for public comment at this time, you may continue.
Thank you very much. Okay, the topic is now open for the Finance and Audit Commission discussion.
I just want to say it's great that there were no audit findings. I remember a few years ago, there was that lease classification issue. Looks like, things sorted out, so that's great news.
I recall a few months ago, so we got an award for, I think, some financial regularity So the fact that there are no audit findings, et cetera, do they actually, are they contributing factors to the?
No, that-
Or you are not sure what the.
That award is the award, the certificate of excellence for the presentation of the financial statements in the ACFR. So that's the award for actually completing the ACFR, making it readily available for the public, having an audit on that. And that's what gets submitted to the Government Finance Officers Association. They evaluate it based on that package. It's not based on the audit or the results of the audit at all.
Thank you.
Kudos on that too.
Yes.
It's been a couple of years since you guys have been getting that, right?
And we submitted the one this year as well, and
Fingers
we're just waiting to hear back, which usually takes like 6 months, so.
Maybe it'll take longer now. No, I guess it goes to California, right?
It'll actually go to, it's through the GFOA, and then they
Oh,
pass it out
okay.
to the reviewers
Okay,
across the country. So there's
I
gonna be
see.
5 or 6 reviewers that take a glance at that report. They look at all the GFOA requirements and make sure that we comply with all those GFOA disclosure requirements, that we have the audit that's outlined and that we needed, and that we've included everything in the ACFR that should be, and then make a recommendation from there. It's a really great program, and I am on the review committee, so I get to see some of those ACFRs from other people as well, and get the chance to make my comments on everybody else's.
excellent. That would be a real learning opportunity too. I mean, just in general.
Absolutely.
Did you have any comment on the topic? I have a brief comment, but
Proceed, please.
well, I should go last, but I just want to say for those funds, as I recall, a bulk of them went to public safety in Menlo Park. How is that impacting the public safety department? Because those have all been spent now, or maybe not. I wasn't quite sure.
Yes,
Okay,
this
it'd
was,
have to be spent by a certain date.
yeah, it has to be spent by the end of 2026, but it has to be obligated by the end of 2025 or
Okay,
something.
I see.
Don't quote
Okay, a
me
little
exactly
bit of,
on. There's some little wiggle room, but it has to be obligated
Yeah.
or set. That deadline to obligate has, I believe, already passed, and we were well within compliance with that. This did give the public safety some additional relief. Basically some tax relief so that some of the sales tax money and DOT money wasn't needed to be spent 100% on all the public safety. Now that money has gone, that is one of the things we're very grateful for about the increased TOT measure and passage of that, because that will also help to continue the funding level for the officers as well.
okay, good, thank you. Any more comments about it? Okay, all right, so Adrian, so we are now ready for a motion. Would you please state the motion?
Certainly. Motion to recommend receipt of the single audit report for the fiscal year 2023-24 and the independent accountant's report on the calculation of the appropriations limit for fiscal year 2024-25 by City Council.
Do I have a motion and a second for the stated motion?
I'll put forth the motion.
Okay, thank you. So, staff liaison Adrian, please take a roll call vote on the motion.
All right. All in favor to approve the stated motion? And the motion passes unanimously.
Excellent. Okay, we are now on agenda item F, committee subcommittee reports. Are there any subcommittee reports since the last meeting?
And me sharing a report with Jayanta.
I acknowledge receipt of the.
And he will pass the report to someone else.
We, just so that everybody realizes, the intent was me to sort of take on the report and move it forward. And then we sort of recognize that all of our terms are due to expire in a few days.
I can report to on my end, so I've reached out to the counterparts and done work, but you know, given the term ending. You know, and given the situation, I don't have something here. I do think, though, there is room for improvement, and I don't mean any criticism, but in terms of how a commission applies, works on the work plan. And I don't know, some of them have actually just, I think the library commission discussed the process of the work plan and making sure it's tangible, because there can be tangible things that will help with the council. And the EQC, for example, they seem to be more tangibly accomplishing things there. So I just think there's an opportunity as part of, better practice discussion. So, but anyway, I have nothing. What about you, Colin? Do you have anything to report on the topic?
No, not this time.
Okay. All right.
I do want to make sure that
Yes.
all the work we've done, at least
Yes.
the commission members that are terming off, somehow is sort of with the staff so that
Okay.
when new members join, that work can continue and they're not restarting from fresh because obviously Lynn had a report that she shared, Matt shared our Open Gov report at some point, so just wanted to make sure that work doesn't get completely lost.
Absolutely. So if there's any documents, research that you'd like to share, I would, please share that with our liaison. And then when the commission assigns new committees and subcommittees, they can benefit from that research. Thank you.
Okay, so I think we can now move on then to item number G. So under informational items, the city staff provides updates on matters of importance to the commission. Informational items are not action items. However, a commissioner, city staff member, or member of the public may request to make a comment or ask a question on any of the informational items. Adrian, do we have any public comments?
Right, if you would like to comment on item G1 of tonight's agenda, quarterly update on city grant funding. If you are logged in on Zoom, please engage the raised hand feature at the bottom of the screen. If you are dialing in from a cell phone or from a landline, please press *9. And if you are in person, please complete a speaker card and return that to me. Final call for public comment on item G1. And seeing no requests at this time.
Do any of the commissioners have a comment? Okay, I have a brief comment. As was noted in the minutes from last time, there was a suggestion, I believe I made it, to add the date the award was made and the funding period to the grant list. And I still think that would be very helpful because some of these may sunset. And I watched the city council, I was at the fire board meeting. The fire chief was terming out or had retired and wanted to meet the new one. I wanted to be there. But I watched the budget principles discussion later, and I agree with what Councilmember Schmidt said regarding, there's uncertainty, but I just think for a historical record, if that wouldn't be a lot of trouble, it would be very helpful to add the date the grant started or was awarded and maybe the funding period. I mean, that to me, that would provide insight into the Finance and Audit Commission. So we can't take any action here because it's informational, but it was noted last time and it seems reasonable to suggest, but maybe there's something I don't know here. So I asked the staff, would that be a burden to add that?
No, certainly. So there's grants in all departments, and so we can work with, there's normally one key staff member that coordinates the application and the quarterly reporting or annual reporting that goes with the grant, so we can work with them to help add those items. I think the date the award was made, it can certainly be added. The grant period might have some flexibility and evolve over time, depending on the specifics of the project. But we can certainly look to add that in a way that would be helpful.
Great, thank you. Okay, so it looks like that is our last agenda item.
And just kind of
Yes.
piggybacking on Lynn's comment, do you know if any of these grants are going to be sunset shortly? I'm just sort of not sure, of the ease of getting new grants these days, so it would be interesting to know if you know, a lot of them will be sunsetting and, you know, how easy it will be to replace these grants with new ones. You know,
Yeah, there are some sources of grant funding that are pretty reliable year over year, so. There's an award for the police, supplemental policing, that's pretty much guaranteed to be received every year, as an example. There's other projects that are very specific that you need to do a proposal for, but there's generally a bucket of money that you can compete for, that we might get one or two projects funded. Many of the projects on this list are CIPs that do take multiple years to complete. So it might be 2 or 3 years on design and 3 or 5 years on construction, just depending on the size of the project. So we're not aware of any particular types of grants that would be sunsetting, like overall as a funding source. So it would just be projects that have completed the scope of work in that project that would be removed from the list after completion.
And maybe not more added to, or there could be a slowdown potentially.
Yes, there is quite a bit of uncertainty around
Yes.
grants right now at all levels of government, because grant funds kind of trickle down throughout as pass through. So.
Okay, well, if there is nothing else, I want to, we will be adjourning, and I want to thank the fellow commissioners who are terming off, including myself and the staff, and we'll adjourn the meeting at 6 o'clock.
Yes, thank you so much,
Yes.
Commissioners.
thank you.